Managing component lifing is a crucial aspect of any race strategy, but many teams rely on independent, inefficient and error-prone systems for managing this critical data, duplicating effort and wasting valuable time coordinating and rationalising lifing information. LifeCheck is a flexible, easy to use and cost-effective solution for the whole race team. It enables the full life cycle of components to be tracked from the point they enter into stock to their retirement, maximising use and minimising waste. We'd like to take a few moments of your time to show you some of the basic features of LifeCheck version 4 and show you how the world's leading commercial lifing package can manage your lifing data. The LifeCheck parts view shows an overview of all the parts on the system. On the left is shown a searchable list of part numbers. When a part is selected, on the right hand side is shown the individual instances of that part. These are termed components and are uniquely identified to the system by the part number and a life code. In this example, LifeCheck showing 8 front rotor components on the system. Basic information can be seen in this configurable view on the right hand side. Life left is colour coded to highlight to the user how close a component is to reaching its life limit. Other information such as check limits or factored distance run can be shown here. By right clicking a component and clicking properties, we see the key lifing information for the selected component. General properties shows information such as part number, life code, description and location, as well as an image of the part if it's been loaded. The Life Values tab shows components' distance limits for racing and testing. The Checks tabs show servicing intervals, both race and test, for the component. These intervals are extensible to include custom checks such as proof or ultrasound tests, for example. The History tab shows us a full history of the component, telling us where and when it's been used, what distance it has run, even who was driving, as well as when it was inspected and any changes to life limits. Documents can be attached to the component and users can add notes. The Calibrations tab allows us to capture inspection metrics against the component. In this case we're recording rotor thickness, but for a drive shaft, for example, we might track twist and run out. Calibration data can be graphed either individually or with calibration information gathered for other instances of the same part. The LifeCheck component view shows users where components are in relation to their assemblies and also their storage locations. Within LifeCheck, each user can set up their own storage locations in which to store components. Ideally, these should mirror real-world storage locations. The logged-in user here has access to 3 storage locations in the drop-down: Stores, Allocated and Factory. There are also 2 further storage locations, Demo 1 and Demo 2, which represent chassis onto which components can also be put. If we select the Stores location, we can see all the components currently within it. By right-clicking and selecting Expand All, LifeCheck will show all the components in their assembly tree view. You can see that individual components can be built into assemblies with drag and drop, and those assemblies can then be moved around the system, taking the parts within them wherever they go. From within Component View, the user can also add new components to LifeCheck. In some real-world cases, components can be automatically created in LifeCheck by external systems, but the user can also add completely new parts or instances of parts by using the Add facility within Component. So to add new instances of a component, one simply selects the component to create in the view, or enters the part number, in this case our front rotor, and hits Add. For recognised part numbers, LifeCheck will default the lifing properties, limits and such to those used by the last component created. LifeCheck allows the creation of a single component or a batch. Next available life codes are allocated by the system automatically, and to create the component one just hits Add. Here we can see LifeCheck has now created the batch of components in the store's location. The Relocate view allows users to bring components together from all over the system's storage locations and chassis to a central location. To relocate a component, simply set the source location in the top window, in this case Stores, the destination location in the bottom window, in this case a chassis, Demo 01, and we can very simply drag the component from the top to the bottom window. Individual components can be moved as well as entire assemblies. This function is typically used to build a car before adding miles to the chassis. The chassis view gives us a tree view of components fitted to our chassis and their lifing status. On a built chassis, we might use this view to identify any potential lifing issues by looking for any out-of-life or out-of-service components. We can also easily record a swap out of a component or assembly by right-clicking on the component in question and selecting Swap Component. This gives us the ability to select from a list of suitable components to replace it with, showing the lifing status of those components, and allows us to swap out the component, putting the old one into the same location as the new one, or another location that we specify. Once the chassis build is completed, it's a very easy process to add miles to that chassis and update the components that are on it. To do this, we click Add Miles. Add Miles allows us to select a chassis, a circuit, the date that we're running, the type of session that we're running in, which is all configurable, the distance in laps or kilometres, and the system can convert between them, the number of starts, the driver, and even the finishing position. We also have the ability to add a note, and to add the miles, we just click Add Miles. Having just added miles to our chassis, we can view the session added in the chassis history. The chassis history shows very rudimentary information about the sessions that the chassis has taken part in, as well as listing them. We can see our session just added it into Lagos at the top of the display. By double-clicking the session, LifeCheck will display the session history. Here we see the basic information about the session, the distance run, the driver, the location. Also listed are the components that were on the chassis during that session. The Show Life function in LifeCheck is where all the lifing data we collect can be brought together. By selecting a chassis or storage location, we can easily report on the component lifing situation of our stock of parts. We can use Show Life to report on the lifing status of a chassis, simply by selecting it as criteria. And updating the display. To view all the components in the tree, we right-click and select Expand All. The Show Life view, like all LifeCheck views, can be exported to Excel, PDF and XML format to be used elsewhere around the team. We can also add composite criteria to report on a particular part number on our chassis. For example, the front rotors we saw earlier. This shows us what our life left looks like now. We can also use the Simulate Distance function to estimate what the lifing situation of the car might look like in the future, perhaps at the end of the race weekend. Here now we can easily see what components will be approaching their life limits before the end of the race event and take action. Thank you for taking the time to learn about LifeCheck version 4. If you require any further information about LifeCheck's features shown in this video, or those more advanced ones we didn't have time to show you here, please contact us.